But I've got a word of the Lord that is going to start as a platform for 2010. In 2010, the first 4 Sundays, I'm going to preach on building faith in your life. It's going to be a series. I've never done a series before. The Lord spoke to me 3 weeks ago and wants me to do a series on building faith in the believer. So don't miss the sermons. They're going to be building faith in your life. Amen. Okay, turn with me to Numbers chapter 13. Nothing, you won't get me a drink of water, would you? Numbers chapter 13, verse 24, 33. Then the place was called Brook Ishkol, because of the cluster of grapes which the children of Israel put down from hence. And they returned from searching of the land, and after 40 days, and they went out and came to Moses and to Aaron, to all the congregation of the children of Israel, unto the wilderness of Paran and Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and unto all the congregation, and showed them the fruit. Now listen to this. Showed them the fruit of the land. You've got to get this morning. They were told him and said, we came into the land where thou hast sent us, and surely it flowed with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. And the Amalekites dwelt in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwelt in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwelt by the sea, by the coast of Jordan. Now get this verse, this is a key verse. And Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, let us go at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. But then the men went up with him and said, we are not able to go against these people, for they are stronger than we. Whoever told them that? And they brought up an evil report of the land. And see here it says, an evil report of the land, which they had searched into the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw it are men of great stature. And there we saw the giants and the sons of Anak, which come of the giants. And we were in our own sight grasshoppers, and we were in their sight the same way. The promises of God are yes and amen to those who believe. I've read this story a million times. The Lord showed me something recently in this story that I've never seen before. We've all heard of the one with the good report and one with the bad report. We've heard those sermons. I want to bring something more than that sermon this morning. Moses had been given that promise that he would enter a land flowing with milk and honey. Now stood Moses on the verge of the promise being fulfilled. But in every promise of God, there's a partnership that goes hand to hand with the believer. He stood on the promises that God had given his great-grandfather. Now Moses stood after coming out of the wilderness, after being in bondage for years. He brought them into the wilderness. It took them a long time to get to this point. But now they were at the point of the promise being fulfilled. Many Christians stand so often at the promises of God being fulfilled, but they never see it being fulfilled. And I believe that many will go to their grave wondering why the promises were never fulfilled. The biggest enemy of the believer is unbelief. D.L. Moody said, unbelief is much an enemy to a Christian as it is to the unconverted. It will keep back, now listen, get this. It will keep back the blessing now as much as it did in the days of Christ as today. Moses stood at the brink of the promise being fulfilled in his lifetime. But he never saw it. He only saw it from a distance. There's a lot of Christians standing, seeing the promise, but it's only from a distance. And longing for the promise to being fulfilled, but never seen it actually being fulfilled. 2010, I believe this, very strong. You know, usually at the end of the year, you're hoping next year is going to be great, aren't you? You're praying it's going to be great. You know, you say to your friends, I really believe it's going to be great. And in your heart, you don't really believe it. You think it's going to be the same as last year. Probably worse. But I can honestly say, in 10 years running a church, I really believe, not in hope, not in faith, not, hoping, I really, really believe that 2010 is a very significant year for us. For me individually, and also corporate. And I really believe that for you also. Really believe it. But Moses really believed God. Really believed it. Otherwise he would have never done what he did. Now you've got to understand, Moses saw the miracles, he saw the parting of the Red Sea, he saw the water coming out of the stone, he saw the bread and the quail being provided for over 40 years. But all of that was behind him now. Now he stood at the brink of the promise that God had given Abraham being fulfilled in his lifetime. But he never saw. He never saw the promise being fulfilled. God is a God that fulfills His promises. Only when, now get this is a spiritual principle, only when we partner with Him. Only when we believe. These men had gone into the land. Now watch this for unbelief. They go into the land, the 12 of them. Now, in these 12 men, there was two extraordinary men, a man called Caleb and a man Joshua, who were probably greater leaders than the other 10. That Moses had a very close relationship with. Now watch this. 10 men go in, they bring back the fruit of the land that God had actually said would be in the land. So not only did they see the promise, they had taken something that was part of the promise back to those, so they could see that the promise God had made with Abraham was actually real. A lot of us think the promises of God are not real. We think in our hearts they're far-fetched. We sometimes think they're fictional. And we wonder why they don't come into our reality. Because the promises of God are not fictional, but they are a reality. So here's Moses, this phenomenal, probably the greatest leader in the Old Testament. They come out of the land that He told them to go into. That God had told him that would be in the land. The word that God gave to him was it would be flowing with milk and honey, and there would be grapes and all these things. The grapes